If you don't mind, panelists, just before we start the panel, I've got a couple of introductory slides and thoughts which I thought might help to kick things off. So if we could just bring up my initial slides. I haven't got the clicker here. That's it there. Thank you. Thanks very much. So the title in this session is all about the hero brand, and I think it's probably debatable exactly what that means. There are brand identities that marketing people talk about, and of course the word Netflix comes up very often in that context. So we're going to explore how content aggregators become, if not hero brands, at least perhaps better brands. So I thought we'd start off with a contradictory position, and you might like to think about who could come up with a statement like this, because there are actually people apparently who think that Netflix isn't a brand at all. Netflix is just like Encyclopedia Britannica. It's a great business model when you're trying to reach as many people on the planet as you can. Does anybody have any idea who might make a statement like that? You're way ahead of me. And the clue is in the next statement, which is the best television on the earth apparently is HBO, and it was made by, very correctly, bonus point at the back there, Bob Greenblatt, who has just joined Warner Media from NBC and is now heading up HBO. So I think it's already an interesting question as to exactly how brands like Netflix and HBO might compare with each other. So then I looked into what are we actually trying to do here. I believe most people in the room are in here for business reasons. So how do we consider value when it comes to building brands? And some of this may not come as a great surprise. What we've done here is select firms in our industry, essentially, from the top 100 global brands, and many of those are other brands outside of the sort of technology and media space. But I must admit, having pulled this together, finding it a little bit surprising that the only real core, in fact, there's really only one core media brand in that entire list, and that's Disney. And they are a fair way down, obviously, from the big tech players at the top. And then you come down to, I've been very generous in calling YouTube a media brand. I mean, I guess, these things are always a matter of interpretation, but one could argue that it is primarily a media platform. And then further down towards the bottom there is in fact, Netflix itself. So within the industry that we work in, of course, Netflix comes up in almost every discussion. But I think it's worth thinking about it in the context of the much broader industry. And of course, there are many, indeed, service provider brands. And in fact, you could argue pay TV brands appearing in that list already. So I do wonder whether, and perhaps we can address this on the panel, as to whether there is really a challenge behind this discussion. And perhaps we're overselling Netflix a little bit, but that's something perhaps we can kick off during the discussion. So if the panelists want to come up to the front, and we can start to think about some of these questions. So I think what we'll do is perhaps kick off with a kind of broad question to begin with. And if you want to just start with a quick introduction about your role and your organisation. So perhaps we should start by just addressing that question, the Netflix question, if you like. Is there anything that pay TV can learn from Netflix? And if so, what would it be, I guess? Emma, would you like to kick off?
I think maybe, sorry, I'm Emma Jones from Viasat World. Oh, I'm there. Okay. I forgot my glasses. It's really embarrassing. Sorry, I can't see. But whether pay TV can learn anything, yeah, for sure. I think the benefit that Netflix has is that it's not in such a mad hurry. I think from a pay TV perspective, every single year is pressure to hit targets. Your ARPUs are declining. This is happening. That reneg's happening. They've bought the sports rights. What's going on? Panic. Whereas I think Netflix have had that sort of luxury of not having to rush their strategy and to take a little bit of time over how they're going to plan their acquisitions or their commissioning. So it's a fortunate position to be in versus pay TV. So I think that's something that maybe pay TV can go, let's step back and take our time a little bit more. I don't know if they have the luxury to do that, but that's maybe what they could learn.
It's a difference between an emerging business and an
sure.
established business, I guess. Yeah. Jeroen.
Yeah, so I'm Jeroen Ghijsen. I'm up there as well. Our company is one of, I think, the early adapters of bringing OTT into the set-box world and into the operators. I think if you look at Netflix, I think you have to turn it around. The quote which we just had sounded a little bit like this morning, where we had this video, and what is phase 2? Honestly, I think if you turn it around and look at the end consumer's perspective, the success of Netflix is, I think, I can get access in one aggregated manner to the content which I really like right at that moment. So Netflix is an entertainment platform and therefore a strong brand.
Yeah, okay. Joerg, we've obviously already heard, but perhaps you can address the question of Netflix particularly, given that they're a partner of yours.
Yeah, exactly. So I introduced myself already, I guess. So regarding this Netflix question, I mean, what you can learn from Netflix is how to not make money, I guess. Because we all know the financial trajectory of that company, but just kidding. So I think Netflix is a great brand. Why is that a great brand? Because they're really focused to the one thing that they are delivering to the customer, that they are promising to the customer. They deliver high quality serial content. As we all heard, they are also trying to expand a little bit besides the serial content, but I guess that's the heart of the brand, and they do it very, very well, I guess. Globally, they scale fast, and they offer a very intuitive and great user experience to their customers. And I think that's it, actually, what also other players can learn. Yeah.
Okay. And Will, your thoughts?
Great, thank you. Hello, my name is Will Ennett, and I work for TalkTalk. TalkTalk is a UK broadband provider, and we have about 4 million broadband subs, but we also run a TV platform, so probably relatively similar to Joerg's business. Probably everything's been said already. I would just echo the customer experience point, which is that the user interface, reliability, the fact that I think from a network's perspective, Netflix were very early in as an OTT adopter, caching in the networks and really focusing on making sure that the user experience is very good every time, not just the content, was probably what I think has helped them and set them apart, and what other OTT platforms and services are trying to emulate.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. We often forget technology seems to work seamlessly now. I remember sitting in this event, I'm sure 10 years ago, and people telling us video over the internet was never going to work, or it would collapse the internet. But yes, that's a key point. And it, I think, brings us to the discussion about pay TV particularly. I mean, what are the innovations that pay TV provide? I'm talking to the people who are not in pay TV directly as well, because I'd like to get your perspectives. But pay TV companies, what innovations should they be focusing on in order to, I guess, come up to that level of user experience? Or maybe you think they're already there, the sort of benchmark that Netflix has set. What are the particular aspects you would be focusing on?
I would say mostly is said indeed. From our experience in the last 10 years, it's really about the fully integrated experience an end consumer wants to have. So if you yet again turn it around and have the end consumer's perspective, you're sitting back relaxed, you just want to enjoy the content which is being brought to you. And I think a couple of the points is the user interface. It should be seamlessly integrated. It should be easy to access. And if there is a payment, it should be a 4-digit PIN code. You paid for it. It ends up in your operator bill. There's a single remote control. There is one device which gives you access to all the content. I think that's a very strong point. And the other things is, I think within the user experience, you should have an as broad as possible content entertainment platform behind it, which not only, like you just said, could give you the recommendations, but could even predict, because of the data which you as an operator have, could predict what I want to see next. And I think that's where the true value lies, because I'm being entertained, and that's actually all I'm asking for as an end consumer.
And this point about data keeps coming up, of course.
Yeah, it's hugely
So again,
important.
I come to our
Yeah.
pay TV colleagues. Can you share any examples of how you are, making use of that data to improve the sort of discovery experience? Are there any stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I can go. I think data is a very interesting subject, and I think because nobody probably quite has a evaluation of how important it is, there is probably a tendency for everyone to be a little bit territorial at this stage. And we talked about pay TV providers, so this is not necessarily us, but probably on a general basis. I think if you license a channel to a major platform around Europe, you probably don't get a lot of data back. And now I think actually it's probably swung too far the other way, in that usually large OTT players don't give the platforms a lot of data for what happens within the app. And that is actually, I think, because there's quite a lot of arguments about that from a commercial point of view, and are there any great insights that either side can glean? But just purely from an operational point of view, I think it's very I think it's just sad for consumers, because if a customer came to our platform with a fault, if they called in, the more data we have to identify, is it a fault with the aerial? We're a DTT provider. Is it a fault with the hard drive and the hard box? Is it a fault with the streaming, so the underlying broadband connection? Or is it a fault within the app itself? Customers, believe it or not, don't always remember what it is they were actually watching, and was it Netflix or was it free to air? I know it sounds, but that's the truth.
Yeah.
So if you have the data, you can really both reactively diagnose and proactively. And so I think that's probably one for the industry, which is how do we almost have like an armistice and actually allow people to share a bit more to allow a better customer experience. And certainly one last point from my side is if you look at customer churn on TV, and I've seen this both in our organisation and other organisations, it's actually that kind of basic customer technical experience is probably the biggest driver, as opposed to there's not enough content, or I can't quite find the content I want to watch. So actually, if we can all come together and fix that basic thing, then we'll all benefit from ultimately longer tenure of usage. I think.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree to what you say. Maybe a little add to that one. Actually, when we measure, or one of the most important data that you can get is the way the customer behaves on the platform, the way the customer clicks and finds content or does use functions, etc., etc. And sometimes it's very easy to find where a problem is. And when I look into our platform, I find users that need 15 or 20 minutes to find the content, obviously. And so to improve the time to content, no matter if it's a recommended content or an actively search for content, so that's key, I guess, to improve customer experience. And as I said, sometimes it's very easy to find the fault. Yes, I mean, if platforms sharing these insights between each other, we could make it for good for the customer.
Are we anywhere near meeting that armistice point that you talked about? I mean, this comes to the point about essentially we are in this co-opetition world that you talked about earlier on. But is there a deal to be done eventually? Do you think?
I don't know, but I think it's probably just whether I think it's over time as people actually realise the value of the data, using it, maybe commercialising it as well, and at that point things can maybe open up a bit more. But it's probably because, for example, even your navigational data. How important is that for you to have and keep and hold, versus to share with the content providers? I guess neither side really understands each other's perspectives yet, and so that's why I think both sides are probably a bit hesitant. But yes, as you say, who's going to make the first move? I guess the interesting question. So.
Okay, well, I'll come to our content provider maybe.
Oh, bring it on. We'd love more.
Emma, what's your view of this side of that sort of discussion that's going on, the sharing issue?
Yeah, I mean, it would benefit everyone if, for example, there was a search and it kept coming up, and it was being typed into the, whether it's your Skybox, your TiVo, time after time, and nobody was telling us what people couldn't find. And wouldn't it be great if they said, everyone's looking for this, and we don't have it? Oh, great, we'll go and buy it, and we'll make a really nice channel for you based on that content. And we have to kind of second guess a little bit, and we launched a drama channel last year actually based on where we thought there was a gap for period drama in Central Eastern Europe. Everyone thought we were a little bit crazy for launching a channel, full stop. But we had to kind of do our own research, and it would have been great if the platforms had said to us and helped us out a little bit. As it turns out, it was fine, and the channel's doing really well, and we were right to trust our research and our instincts. But it would have been even better had the operators shared, or were in a position to share, that kind of information with us and customer feedback that doesn't always come. But
and the response, I mean, presumably you go into these discussions and...
Would you like a drama channel? No. Would you like? No. So, we kind of have to always persuade them that that is what they really want. But they obviously did want it, because they took it in the end.
Right,
but,
okay.
Yeah.
A little second guessing going on there.
Yeah.
I think everybody would benefit in that situation. If you could bring something, and it's generally spoken, supply and demand, if you could get that close together, the success factor will be much higher. So I think both the operator will benefit as well as the content owner. And finally the end consumer, because they get the access straight away to the content which they requested for. So I think that would be a beneficial situation to all.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, it's all about creating a win-win actually between the platforms and the content owners, because I mean, we like or love our partners. The partners bring the content to our platform. We want to have a big variety for our customers, and why not sharing insights and giving the content owner a chance to optimize their product, their content, vice versa, that feeds directly into the platform. So I mean, that's something we can talk about. Yeah.
And I mean, you said earlier on, Jeroen, that you're essentially an open platform and you welcome all comers, I guess.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
in that discussion, there would have been no issue, I guess, about taking Drive TV, the new Drive channel. I guess perhaps this takes us on to the question of exclusive content as well, which when you think about Netflix, certainly the more recent strategy is all about, tentpole titles and, very high-profile content and talent and so on. How important is that in this overall discussion about how you're building these brands? I mean, I guess, Emma, perhaps again we should start with you on that.
So for us, we have a real mix. So we have the top sort of movie channels in Russia where we acquire studio content exclusively, and we do very well. So that's quite an easy. Kind of sells itself. In other territories, we have documentary, factual channels where we don't always have exclusives. But I guess then it's just about making sure that you stay true to the brand and that you are making the most of what the customer expects from you. So you sort of, if you are a history channel, you don't have celebrities jumping out of planes talking about history. You are a proper channel. You've said you're a history channel. That is your brand, and you stick to it. So it doesn't really matter if the content's exclusive or not, as long as people know what they're going to get when they tune in. So from that, we've got experiences, say, in exclusive and shiny content and new content to the sort of slightly more longer tail on the factual side. And as long as you can manage both, it's very doable, I think, to keep that brand.
Okay, it's about striking the balance again, as you say.
Yeah.
Again, from the sort of pay TV perspective, and you mentioned exclusivity, obviously, Jeroen, some of these deals, and that sounds like it's a core part of the strategy going forward.
It is, yeah. So as I said, I mean, we believe that to make really the difference, to have a USP, a sustainable USP, we decided at least to go that route and to have that as core part of the strategy. As I said, it's sports, it's fiction. We also have some music in terms of video music. We also experiment with innovative contents, be it virtual reality, for example, and others. So we are happy with the developments. You always have to find the right balance. I mean, we would not be able to invest the amount of money that traditional content creators would invest into these contents. But we want to find something that the customer values. So we want to create added value for the customer. And that's, I mean, our proposition is maybe geared towards a German customer because we are a German platform. That's the reason why we struck that deal with ARD and ZDF, for example, because we thought this is needed in the marketplace, and we wanted to create it.
You sort of implied you got lucky with that first title, because again, this raises the question. It's very unpredictable as to what's going to succeed. I mean, Netflix talks about the successes and not the failures.
Yeah, yeah.
And of course, they are pulling content off their platform now. But I mean, it's a very tough. How do you go about predicting where to put that type of investment? Joerg, I don't know, Will, if you've got anything to add to that as well.
I'm afraid I have nothing to add because we don't have any exclusive content, and I think it's probably just where you sit in the, you know, as a business. So I should have said as well that we're typically a value-based business, so we try and be, you know, very keen on pricing, and as a result, to be honest, we don't really have, I think, a lot left over for investing in exclusive content. So for that reason, really, we're very much about how can we take the big brands, repackage, resell them, hopefully at a, you know, a great, or if not the best price in the market, and with added extra benefits. But yeah, I guess I'll let Joerg answer on the, you know, how do you predict successes and failures of exclusive content?
Yeah. Prediction is always difficult, I guess.
You've got your own content team now, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, we just started in October, as I said. I mean, we had the first licensed series also the year before on the platform, and we are continuing putting the content there. And actually, I mean, we are learning. Yeah? We see, or we want to see which type of content is attractive for the customer, which not maybe. There's also to do a lot of with data and data analytics. But yeah, we also don't want to just test and then skip it again. So we want to stay in that model for a certain period of time to see if we can also harvest the benefits. I mean, needless to say, also we want to earn money with that product, and we have a profitable TV business. And so every dollar or euro in that sense that we invest into content has to pay off, be it by new subscribers, be it by upselling, whatever. There's always a business case behind what we do, and yeah, but prediction is difficult, I guess. Yeah.
It must be a changing culture for a telco. How is that?
It is.
It must
it
be
is.
seen like a
it
strange operation that's going on in there.
Yeah. As I said, so one key to success was actually this end-to-end responsibility, and our content colleagues were, before investing into content, very much focused on the traditional content business with the broadcasters, etc., or winning partners, the big partners. And yeah, it's a skill that you have to build up. And also there you can work together with partners. We are also discussing with our content partners doing co-production, because I guess a channel is far more experienced in creating a good drama series than we are. But we might know our customers even better, and so this fits together. It's a yin and yang, and then it's a discussion of the windowing in the end.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any questions from the audience? Yes, we have a couple of hands up, actually. Perhaps we should start over here if there's a microphone. Thank you. If you could state your name and organisation, please.
Hi, I'm Maria Ingold. I'm a consultant with Meriality. I was updating a presentation recently on the state of the OTT delivery in the UK. And the last time I updated it was 5 years ago. And I just updated, and there were three things I noted. One was that there's a hell of a lot more SVOD. Two, every single company has changed their logo. And three, every single company other than iPlayer or Netflix has changed their brand name. So if we're going to be a hero brand, and you're changing your name all the time, that says to me that you don't think you've got a very good brand to begin with. Comments?
Great question. Who wants to go first? I guess you're in the firing line with this one.
I could try to answer. Yeah, I mean, we also discussed that beforehand, David. Yes, also the brand that we had before was a good brand. It was called Entertain, our TV product, but actually as I started to explain, our whole company is thinking Magenta. Magenta becomes more and more important for the whole Deutsche Telekom brand space, also for products, and so it was an easy discussion in terms of renaming the product to Magenta TV. It better fits to the brand values of the whole company. It better fits to the product range of our company. That's the one part. The other part still is it's actually a new type of TV. It's really a 2.0. Yeah? Because the 10 years before, we were really focusing on a technology platform. We were really focusing on the features that we introduced. We were the first ones introducing time shift and this kind of stuff years ago. But it was we are a technology company actually, and we put also TV in that sense. So and now we decided to change the strategy and also invest into content. And we thought it's time to really change also the brand name. And also when we ask the customers, it's very positively received. And without revealing the numbers in detail, but we see a steep increase in sales numbers and customer awareness, but also satisfaction. And we think that has also to do with the rebranding. That's my answer.
Jeroen, did you want to add anything on that, or from an external
perspective? Not really.
Not really. Okay. Emma, I'm going to ask you because again, you're in the world of channels which are essentially about a brand communicating content to consumers, and they change fairly regularly. But as we heard from Pat earlier on, I mean, it's a major exercise.
It is
Potentially. So what goes through your minds before you make this big decision to either change the logo or even change the brand?
I've got 18 brands, and I've worked at platforms before, and there's a bit of a thing when they bring in a new marketing director or whatever, if in doubt, rebrand. They'll keep everyone busy for 2 years. But there's that whole, with the channels, it's actually more of a risky business for us because we rely so heavily on the operators, on the way that they open the door to the customers, and there's so much competition. So we haven't rebranded at all, actually, our channels. We've got, as I say, lots of brands across lots and lots of territories, and we tend to keep everything fairly consistent. And in terms of a pure channels business, we haven't done that for a very long time. So we kind of see the value in the brand, and we kind of quit while we're ahead.
You're investing in them. Because I come back to that chart I showed, I mean, the one media brand that's up there, of course, Disney, is nearly 100 years old as a brand. And it's taken that long to build that type of, global value. So, okay. Perhaps we should go to the other question over towards the. Well, there's one over there. There's one on the far side over there. Thank you.
Good evening. This is Vinay Vasudeva from Infosys. We all know that with the advent of ultra-speed, low-latency 5G, media industry stands to gain the most. Where do you see the major investment being brought forward on the TV-related use cases to monetize that?
So TV use of 5G.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. This is
Thank you.
More of a techie question, but again, I'm going to have to come to a telco.
Go ahead.
Any hands up?
So unfortunately, we're not sort of an MVO. We have an MVNO. So as a result, we're not quite as vested in the 5G discussion. So it's not at the forefront of our business decisions, to be completely honest. Probably what's more for us is sort of full fiber and 1 gig to the cabinet, and that also has some interesting opportunities also because everything just simply works. So customer experience is great, and you probably don't need to do as much caching in the network and all these other bits and pieces because it will all work. But I'm afraid on 5G, I haven't seen anything specifically as well in the market about content and 5G. But I mean, maybe again, others have seen more.
Well, to our experience, I think for the end consumer, it is in connectivity anywhere. So they want to have connection with the operator anywhere they are. As cars, for example, become self-driving, they ask for either entertainment or work in the car is going to be bigger. And I think 5G is now opening up a huge opportunity to deliver You cut off Netflix at your home, you walk into your car and your kids start watching Netflix while the car is self-driving towards your destination. And I think those types of business cases will resemble in the future. And you might even argue, fully opposite to what we discussed before, but shouldn't you become a more open platform where you say it doesn't care whatever content we bring the billing relation, we bring the connectivity, and we bring the data for the end consumer in which I'm fully satisfied, and my satisfaction becomes even broader because I, as an end consumer, have a perception of choice while I'm not in a closed environment. So it might open up new opportunities after all.
We have to get Deutsche Telekom's.
No,
5G, I'm afraid.
So, I mean, in my opinion, I mean, we are Telekom, actually. We also just bid for the 5G spectrum in Germany, so it's just running and will cost a lot of money, I guess. But in the end, I mean, from a customer perspective, I think the customer will not care if it's 5G, 4G, whatever type of network. Yeah. It's a ubiquitous network that you will have. As long as capacity and speed increases in the mobile networks, that's good, I guess, for the whole industry. And the more we are moving into an OTT world, I mean, in the end, it's a best effort world. So our service will have the same quality experience than any other service, actually. So it's a good development, but I don't see any really special use case 5G for video content.
Okay, and there was one other question also at the back. No, that's it.
Thank you. David Hein, Burda News. I have another question for Mr. Richartz. In your presentation, you referred to the Megathek as a place for exclusive content. However, the Megathek contains kind of an archive of a lot of content assets from public broadcasters. How did you manage to achieve this exclusivity, or is it only exclusive because you were the first platform to have that?
So actually, the single content assets might not be exclusive, but the composition of what we have is exclusive to us for the time being, at least. So nobody has that range of content available on the platform. That has also to do with the legal requirements when it comes to catch-up in Germany, so it's only available for a certain period of time. We now have it, we say it's exclusive, as I said, in the composition that we have for our customers, but we're not saying that I don't know, the Tatorte or the Bergdoktoren or Traumschiffe, that's all the German contents that we have, are exclusive on our platform. You can also watch that in different places, but the composition is exclusive.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Were there any other hands? I saw any. Okay, I think we're just time for this one here, and then we'll wrap up.
Thank you. Hi, John Illingworth from Very Matrix. Just a quick one for Joerg. When you did your rebranding to Magenta, did you all get free shoes?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Actually, the shoes are sold out. That's the bad message. But actually, there were some, not the Magenta TV, but there were some events where these shoes were spread all over the organization. And
I have got a serious question. Mainly for Emma. You commented that you wasn't able to get the data from your customers, your operators, how to improve your content. If there was a way to enforce it to your operators, would be a great technology, a great idea, but wouldn't that create a problem between you and your operators that they not necessarily report the right numbers of subscribers that they have to you? If there was a way to enforce that so you could get that data, would it be accepted by your customers, or would they leave you?
By our customers being the operator customers, yeah. So some of our deals do require them to share that data, and it's become, especially since VOD, because obviously we spend an absolute fortune on VOD, so we want to make sure that what we're buying is being watched. So getting that data back is becoming a little bit easier because it ends up being a win-win. There's also a risk. If no one's watching it, you look like a bit of a fool in your next reneg. So, it's helpful if you get that data throughout the term of the deal. So in terms of enforcing it, yes, it's becoming more of a term in the contracts now, but you know, it's very difficult sometimes with new VOD platforms. Oh, we can't get the data, or there's a delay, or we're not sure, we didn't show it that month. You know, so it's a work in progress, but I think you're right. I think we will get to the point where we will be able to enforce it, and we'll kind of have to, because we won't be able to justify the spend that we make on VOD without the data to back it up.
Yeah, it sounds like this armistice is going to have to come sooner or later. Good. Okay, well, we're actually slightly over time, so I think we're going to have to wrap up. But perhaps you'd join me in thanking the speakers for an excellent discussion. Thank you very much.